I am Anya Nash, and this is a presentation on my answer to question 7 of the evaluation of my final horror opening sequence. This is the question. From producing the preliminary task, I found it was easier to edit the final piece as I already understood how to use the software, and therefore it was a much quicker process overall. In the preliminary task, I discovered how to import the footage we had already filmed, and I identified the different tools available when editing, such as the cropping tool. I was able to put the audio along with the diegesis, which meant that when editing our Hunter opening sequence, I was able to take more time to adjust the sound so that it had the desired effect. In Hunter, the audio is utilised differently in some respects to the preliminary task. For instance, the use of parallel sound was used in a much simpler and obvious way in the preliminary, such as the raindrops when there is a close-up shot of the rain outside the window. However, in Hunter, the parallel sound is used when displaying that there is danger, and the audience can visually see this too. Audio is also shown through dialogue, silence, and play on volume in the preliminary task. This is also shown in Hunter. However, the use of dissonant sound in Hunter creates a much more intense horror atmosphere for the viewer, thus clearly illustrating the genre. The use of ambient sound was much greater in the Hunter sequence, as the sound of her heavy breathing, footsteps, birds, and twig snaps are heard. We decided to go for a simpler narrative with the final piece, as we found that, with the preliminary, it was such an intricate narrative that it became unclear to the viewer, and we therefore tried to use more conventions used typically in horrors, such as frequent close-ups and shots of the victim to remind the viewer of their vulnerability, and stings of sound to emphasise the actions on the screen, such as the sinister character finding the girl and his appearance behind her as the audience sees and knows something she does not. When considering the cinematography produced in both, it is clear that we have improved and learnt from the preliminary, as the types of shots and variety we used is so much more difficult and controversial, as we did try to test out interesting camera positions, movements, and angles that we had not produced in the preliminary. These are shots such as 180 degree, canted angle, low and high angle, and we also took advantage of the low-key lighting available in our location. The editing transitions we also used, such as match on action, helped to create a much more fluid sequence. The adjustments made using the filter effects helped to create the eerie mood. The rhythmic relations of each shot was a huge part of the editing, as I discovered that this can be the main aspect of creating a particular feeling and mood for the viewer. Therefore, the speed of shots used in both sequences varied from continuity to montage. However, in the Hunter sequence, I believe the transition from one to the other was much more effective, as it was gradual as well as being intense. In Hunter, it flicks from one to the other fluidly, and this is due to the depth of our planning. We found that there was not many areas of the Hunter sequence that needed transition, and this, I believe, is due to the detail that we went into to picture how the sequence was going to be seen from one shot to the next. As the preliminary did use many transitions, which made it difficult to create a professional appearance, we strongly tried to avoid this in the final piece. Something that does undeniably contrast between the two works is that we were able to incorporate titles in the final piece. We managed our time much more efficiently, such as creating filming sessions and meeting deadlines within editing. It was an easier process than I had imagined with the titles, and was once performed first time it became extremely quick to learn the other aspects, such as how to add the transitions in and out from the titles. I believe the addition of titles hugely improved the work, creating a much more professional and full sequence that displays a huge amount of planning and thought behind it. This is not surprising to me, as I know that the amount of depth and research and planning produced should reflect this. I hugely enjoyed producing both sequences, and I've definitely found areas that I had learnt and improved in process from the preliminary task, that therefore enhanced the quality of the final piece, that I am hugely proud of. Thank you for watching.